All right, guys, welcome back. We're going to do another question today. If you have a question for me, it can be anything about spirituality, ghost boxes, equipment, talking to the dead, connecting, personal, anything you want to ask me, you can email me at questionsforhuff@gmail.com. This is a new series I'm doing in addition to my sessions just to fill in the gaps from between when I don't have new videos to post. The goal here is to try to post something every day. I don't know if I'll be able to do that, but I am going to try. Today's question comes from Pooter's mom. That's an interesting name. Pooter's mom says, my question is regarding your spiritual communication. When did you first become aware of your ability to speak, hear from, and feel spirit? Longtime YouTube member, thank you. Thank you for all you do. Here we go. Love is the key. Fran Williams, aka Pooter Mom. So Fran, thank you so much for the question, which is again, when did you first become aware of your ability to speak to, hear from, and feel spirit? All right, so I've already talked about when I was young, how I was fascinated. Since age 9, I've been doing communication of some sorts. I believe now, looking back, I've had guides and spirits attaching to me my whole life. It's probably why I've grown up as an introvert. And having these things that back then I didn't know what they were, but now I recognize them for what they indeed were. I've always had this thing where I knew there was an afterlife, and I knew it deep within, but I wanted proof of it, right? And I always had this ability to feel energy of others, and I've always been an empath where I always feel, or how to describe it. If I see someone else in pain, I feel their pain. If I see an animal hurting, I feel that hurt. And I just want to help people, right? It's hard being an empath, and many of you out there are indeed. You're usually quiet, reserved, sensitive. There's many characteristics of someone who's an empath. And it's not a bad thing, it's a good thing, but it can be kind of a curse in some ways because it does really make you, or at least it did for me, a reserved, quiet. In life, I only have people that I fully trust as friends, and I can count them all on one hand, right, that I'm close with. And that, I believe, is in part due to these spiritual experiences I've had my whole life and the way these guides have guided me. So as I grew older, I still had an interest in life after death, but life happens. I was married, had a baby, and you tend to forget about these things when you're trying to support your family and doing whatever you have to do to earn money to put food on the table. But again, as I got older and my son got older, I think he was 9 or 10 when I started getting back into ITC heavily. As a matter of fact, it was 2009, 2010 when I started heavily getting back into EVP. But something always drew me back to it. There was always an inner desire like, Steve, you have to do this. You have to try this, right? And most people I talk to, they never think of these things. But for me, I had a drive within me. So I remember being in a house and I had bought a voice recorder, just to see. This is before I did YouTube or anything. And I'm like, I want to see if I can capture ghost voices. And I went to the Queen Mary with my family, and we were trying to record EVPs, and, not really thinking anything was going to come from it, but went back to the room, and every time we played it back, there was a solid answer via whisper on this recorder. I can't do that today, but for some reason, that first time it happened, and it was crazy. And it freaked out my son at the time and my then wife. They wanted to leave. They were scared out of their wits. And I just became more fascinated. So that's when we went home and I started doing more of this. I was recording EVPs in my home, EVPs pretty much everywhere I went. And then I dropped it again for a few months. And then I went online and I started, a friend's relative sent her a video saying, look, I caught these orbs in my house. That friend then sent me or asked me about orbs. I said, well, usually 99% of the time orbs are dust And I can talk about that in another video, why that is and how dust reflects off of certain cameras with certain lighting to make it look like an orb. I said most orbs are just dust being reflected off the camera. If there's a light source being used, or especially IR, you can easily capture dust and it looks like orbs. But real orbs do have a characteristic about them. So there are real orbs that can be caught. One of the best orbs I ever saw was from Josh at Hope Paranormal. Never seen anything quite like it. So I was trying to debunk this for her. And as I was doing that on YouTube, I came across a guy named Stephen Hill. And he had this little box and he said, spirit box, talk to the dead or something. I'm like, what is this, a new invention? Click on it. And I was in disbelief as to what I was hearing, because he was getting some direct one-word answers. You know, like he would ask a question, a yes or no. They'd say yes. And I'm like, what? How is this even possible? Real time. And I first had thought, you know, like many people think of me, oh, this is fake, right? So I went out and I researched and I discovered the whole world, the small world at the time, of ghost boxes. And there was mainly one box called a Frank's box at the time. That was the box to own, you know, if you really are serious about this. But they were really hard to get because Frank Sumption didn't really let them go to many people. So I was like, I'm going to see if I can get one of these. So I was living in Phoenix, Arizona. I went to Craigslist, typed in Frank's box, and must have been fate because there was one 10 minutes from me. A guy was selling for $250. He didn't want it. It scared the bejesus out of him. I met him in a Fry's Electronics parking lot. Maybe he's watching this. Who knows? But I gave him the money. He gave me the box. I went home, immediately started using it, heard my name right away. I asked who it was. He said, Paul. Third message was, be careful, right? So they were warning me up front, be careful with this. Take it seriously, which I didn't end up doing until later. But once I got that Frank's box, then I went down the rabbit hole. I bought a mini box. I bought a PSB-7 when they became available. I bought any ghost box, a Joe's box, anyone I could get my hands on, because I became fascinated. And the more confirmations and validations I received, the more I wanted to do it. You know, I just wanted to do session after session. Then I started, about 2 or 3 months in, I started noticing when I would walk through a room, I would be able to feel if a spirit was there by that electricity, right? I would feel that electricity coming through me. Then I would start to hear them. So I think the abilities that we may all have within us, but there are ways to build those abilities. And that is another question for another day. It's a long answer, but I first really started noticing something when I was little. But as I grew older and got more into it and opened my mind up, which is very important, and started believing, which is very important, and the fact that I'm an empath and I have a caring, loving heart, which is also helpful, I started to realize that there was something going on, that, you know, I didn't think I had a gift, because I do feel we all have the capability if we truly desire it. You know, we're all the same. We're all human beings. We're all cut from the same cloth. We all come from the same place. Not one person is better than another in this world, no matter of your financial standing, the color of your skin, the language you speak, the God you believe in. None of that. We are all equal. So what I do here, you can do. Anyone can do. It just takes a matter of, there's steps required. And here I am going on 11 years, really, 11 and a half years, where I fully delved back in. And if I compare myself to that time 11 years ago to now, not only have I changed as a person dramatically over these years from lessons learned, my soul learning life lessons, I've become, the abilities have grown, the connection has grown, my dedication has grown, and that's a huge part of it, right? These days in life, my connection has become stronger because they've shown me what it takes for it to become stronger. And I think there's a question that I'll be doing coming up here in the coming days and weeks that talks about how to build that connection. So yeah, I've been aware, I've been really into this my whole life, but once I really jumped in, became aware of a spirit box, and when I started, there were maybe 3 people on YouTube doing this. 3. Today there's thousands. I mean, which is amazing because now the floodgates have opened. It's only a matter of time, until the world realizes and skeptics realize and people who don't believe realize and open their mind that yes, this is real. And once that happens, I believe the world will become a better place, especially once more and more people who do this long term, like me, start to see those messages, see the realities, hear the realities, and know the realities of the afterlife. I think that's very important. So I hope that answers your question. Thank you so much for asking. Pooter's mom, Fran Williams, I thank you so much. And thank you for being a member. Thank you so much. So we'll do this again. I have a stack of questions here, which are all great questions, and I look forward to answering them all. I love you all. Remember, love is the key. I'll see you next time, and I will have a new session video coming soon. So I'll see you then. Bye.